Welcome back to Go Gently. My name is Bonnie Wright and I am so enjoying creating these videos for you as just a way to communicate the type of things I have been interested in doing in my day-to-day life to be a bit more part of the change that I want to see when I am concerned and worried about the climate crisis. Different ways that I can use my creativity, resourcefulness, curiosity, and just interest to feel like I'm participating and being the human I want to be on planet Earth and connect with like-minded people. So that's you, because you're here watching these videos and I am thankful for that. Today's video, I'm pretty much gonna base it here on this very exciting desk of mine where the whole of Go Gently, the book, was written. Just because this episode is really about something that I am very interested in, which may sound maybe a little bit dull and boring, but I love materials, and I think my interest in materials obviously really stemmed or got exaggerated through my interest in waste and consumption and our relationship to waste, and really making sure that we ask more questions about where things come from, where they go, our responsibility to that object while we own it. So yeah, I think, at first it was really single-use plastics that I was really interested in, really understanding why and what they do, like why can't we recycle, or why aren't we recycling them, or why do they end up in our oceans, why are they a problem to marine environments and our health, etc. So yeah, this curiosity into the waste system really developed my interest in just materials as a whole. I grew up with parents who love material, have deep respect for material. They're jewelry designers, both my mum and dad. Their designs through Wright and Teague and their care for materials really made me realize the importance of that. Imagine if we treated, just our notebook and paper or glassware with the same sort of power and energy that we give to gold, for instance. That is something that we would never just throw in a landfill, really, and we would make sure that we recycle, repurpose that because it has such high value. So why do we not treat every other, maybe more mundane item in our lives with the same sort of energy and pressure and care as we do with the higher value items? I'm just gonna pull up some things that are kind of surrounding me and just sort of reflect on them and what that material is, and maybe a little bit about that. I definitely am not an expert when it comes to materials. I'm just definitely an enthusiast. So, do your own research when it comes to materials. And I think what's so challenging often when we look at materials and what we're gonna do with them is every one of you exists in a different city and in a different environment where your waste management system is very different, and what is accepted by your local sort of council, municipality will be different. So when it comes to an afterlife of product, I really urge you all to put into Google your local city, council, town, and really see what can and can't be recycled. How also to dispose of hazardous waste is a really important thing to think about, whether that's paint after you finish painting your house, whether that's some even cleaning products are deemed pretty hazardous, like drain cleaner. So not only do we just think about recycle, non-recycle, we're thinking about hazardous waste, we're thinking about organic waste that can be turned into beautiful fertilizer and compost to grow more wonderful plants. So yeah, there's the afterlife, and there's also the extraction of materials and also the farming of materials. And then once you have that raw form, how they processed and manufactured, what are the kind of lives that are impacted along that supply chain. Many people's lives are impacted greatly by either they're working on farms or in mines, or maybe they live close to such sites. So yeah, that's about kind of the raw virgin materials extracted. And then the beautiful realm of repurposed, recycled materials too. So things that have already maybe 1 year, 10 years ago already been extracted, but have been able to be used over and over again. And kind of the importance that we don't extract something, use something and throw it away, because if it's not renewable, once you take it out, it doesn't regrow, it doesn't renew itself. That kind of just, it will end. like fossil fuels. So that is obviously coal, that's gas, that's plastics. Many of those things, once they've been extracted from deep within our Earth's core, they can't be regrown again. Obviously begin to look towards more renewable resources of energy, but also of materials. So that's in a nutshell. You can see my brain like going into all different directions because I really am fascinated with materials and how creative and resourcefully we use them. Okay, so I've grabbed a couple of things here on my desk just to very basically go over some materials. So we have a candle burning, which is made of glass. One thing I love, actually, I haven't yet burnt this fully through, but often candles are in these like beautiful containers, but then the candle burns out, and unless you make your own candles at home, you know, that vessel then becomes, I mean, you can definitely repurpose it. This will probably be a beautiful glass to drink out of. But this brand, you can actually go and refill it. Like the company will refill the candle, which I thought was a genius idea. I found this in Little Italy of San Diego. It's called Off and Wonder. And also an important thing before I talk about the glass is the fact that this is a soy wax candle, which is kind of better than a paraffin-based candle, because paraffin is a fossil fuel. But I think we would be careful too with soy, because obviously soy is often, kind of the farming of soy is often linked to deforestation, just because so much of it is grown, and often these areas happen in areas where they kind of chop down trees in order to make space for soy plantation. So I try really not to eat that much soy when it comes to like milk or tofu or things like that. But when it comes to candles, you know, weighing up the two things, often a lot of things about materials and choices, we kind of weigh up the pros and cons of each thing. And I have found that, you know, when you weigh up soy candle versus a paraffin wax candle, I know that the soy is better. So it's also just like looking into the sort of where they actually source that soy from, the soy wax. But then moving on to the glass. Now glass is an incredible thing. It obviously can be recycled and has been for a very long time. But I think more and more I'm saddened by the reality that glass is kind of being less and less recycled in different cities and places, because it's quite dangerous. It can break, and it's very heavy to transport, which obviously then uses more carbon emissions because the truck carrying it is heavier. So glass, really, while we don't not want to recycle it, we definitely want to recycle it. Better than that, honestly, is upcycling, repurposing and reusing that glass is actually the best possible thing we can do. I think it's a shame really that we don't do as much kind of returning and refilling that glass used to be. You know, they used to be kind of opposite from where I grew up as a kid. That was like a milk factory place, and like the little vans would drive around with glass bottles of milk that they would put on your front doorstep, and then they'd collect those and refill them, wash them, refill them and drop them off again. So it's a shame really that glass isn't used. In some countries it really is still used like that, but I think the best possible thing we could really be doing with glass is recycling and repurposing it rather than actually recycling it. Important tip is do not recycle already broken glass. It is very dangerous. Make sure that the glass you recycle is whole and unbroken. So glass, yes, it can be recycled. There's not a lot of it out in the world. There definitely have been times, I think even still now, there's kind of like a scarcity and shortage of glass. So obviously keep it within the system of the recycling system, but better yet, learn how to repurpose and recycle it. So that is a bit on glass. As I said, I'm literally scratching the surfaces of these topics because there is so much depth one can go into. So we got a pencil and a pen. Now, I'll admit I have a mixture of both and I use different things, but I really do try when I can, and I don't need to use a pen, use a pencil, just because, you know, when I sharpen this, I can compost the sharpenings, and you know, this basically will become nothing once I use it, if I used it all the way to the tip. Whereas this plastic pen that is not refillable is just totally becomes kind of unfortunate fully waste when this is finished, because this can't really be recycled. It's kind of too small and it's kind of got too many different parts within it. It's like hard to break down and separate all these kind of different parts in just our regular recycling capabilities and system. So yeah, where possible, obviously go for a pencil over a pen. And as I said, these kind of small, hard to recycle things. So moving on to the huge kind of scary topic of plastic. There are 7 different types of plastic, and you may have seen on the bottom of containers, materials, there's this kind of chasing arrow symbol, which we commonly associate to think it's recycling. But when it comes to plastics, that's not really what it means. It literally just means, if you see that chasing arrow symbol, numbers 1 through 7, that just number just means it is this type of plastic. It doesn't mean, oh, that is recyclable. It's just telling you which of the 1 through 7 plastic types it is. Now, only about 3 of those recycling types usually are recycled. Now, a much more in-depth kind of breakdown of all these labels, certification, material types, the kind of decoding that we often have to do when it comes to materials is all in my book in a nice, manageable and readable way that I don't think I'm going to communicate in the same way. So this is scratching the surface and hoping exciting you at what you can sort of find as a resource in Go Gently. I'm pointing towards the screen every time I say it because I literally have the book up on the screen because I'm going to read a little part of it in a minute. So yeah, plastics, many different types. And I think the big question I'm always asked with plastics is, will people, friends, is my plastic ever recycled? Or what plastics can be recycled? Does it get recycled? The answer, in the most ambiguously simple way with plastics, is, does it ever get recycled? The answer is not really. Because let's pause for a moment and think and define, what does recycling actually mean? So recycling something means breaking down that material into small parts and turning it back into the same material. So glass, breaking this glass down, turning it back into glass. Plastic recycling, what often happens, let's just hypothetically say this is type, completely randomly, 5 and this is type 2. Most of the time when you recycle plastic, you're breaking this down, turning it into smaller parts and turning it into a different type of plastic, which is actually better told as downcycling. So that's what really happens a lot with plastic. So, you could get a plastic water bottle that could be downcycled into a fiber, maybe to make a recycled nylon yoga leggings, for instance. Now that's really downcycling, and once it's made into those yoga leggings, it cannot be recycled again. One of my favorite materials when actually looking at what recycling can be at its best is a material like aluminium. Aluminium is something, it's like the original material that was recycled. Most aluminium we find within our products has already been recycled, so it's already been something else before that. And aluminium is lightweight, it's transportable, pretty much, that's kind of a hard statement, but pretty much all places, cities, towns, whatever, recycle aluminium. And it is truly broken down from aluminium and turned back into aluminium again. So aluminium is a good one. Also, the problem with a lot of plastic is they're mixed materials. There's different types of plastics go into different products. So challenging thing is the separation of them. But I think a really important thing to pull back from with plastics is, well, not plastics, materials in general, and recycling in general, is we have put value on all materials, all commodities, all things have value and what they mean to that system. So gold is something that you can see the stock market value all the time on things. And with recycling, I learned this when I went to a MRF, which stands for Material Recovery Facility, essentially a recycling center or organizing center, is that all these things are separated into this material, that material, glass, plastic 2, plastic 5, aluminium, paper, cardboard. Once it's sorted, it then is basically sold to recyclers, and the value that material has in any given moment can fluctuate massively. So maybe, hypothetically, this is plastic 2. No one's interested in recycling plastic 2 right now. Okay, well, it could be not even worth the MRF to do anything with that. So that could go to landfill because it's just not worth being resold. But suddenly plastic 5, high value on the market. Oh my God, everyone wants this. We're gonna really bother to sort that one out and get it recycled. So it's all very difficult and it fluctuates a lot. That's why it's very hard to say, will this plastic get recycled? Because it is so reflective of what that value is. And the big unfortunate thing is new raw virgin plastic is often cheaper than recycling that plastic and turning it into new plastic. So that's a huge thing to consider. Sometimes we often think, oh, it cannot be recycled. Sometimes it's a bit more of a gray area than that. It's not necessarily it can't be recycled, it's just that there isn't the demand for that recycled fabric. Okay, so I'm gonna read a little bit from my book, 2 bits, I think. So this is in a chapter called Go See, which is basically the second chapter in the book that basically walks through your home and then begins to identify the things that, kind of similar to what we just did, identify some things that were within the home and use those exact examples as a way to sort of like dissect what that material is, the environmental impact, my kind of feeling towards that. Do I want to change the fact that I buy this or I choose to do that? Just really reflective chapter that looks kind of quite broadly at everything. So there's a bit here where we talk about waste, and I suggest this great exercise to do, which is a trash audit or rubbish audit, where you essentially pull out your recycling bin and your waste bin and pull out, say, 5 items and just sort of look at what each of those materials are. Can they be recycled? Am I just assuming they can be recycled, so I'm putting them in the recycling bin, but do I actually really know if they can be or not? So that is a great exercise that I show you in the book, A Trash Audit. And anyway, here's a bit of a moment, a little paragraph that I say. Rubbish, trash. How do we create it and what do we do with it? We tend to use waste as an all-encompassing term for anything we no longer deem useful, whether that's our kitchen rubbish, a broken appliance, or a shirt we no longer wear. And while we'll always use more technical terms like global waste and waste recovery, the most powerful lesson I have learned during this journey is to re-evaluate and work to eliminate the word waste from my everyday vocabulary. By calling items, materials, and precious resources waste, we strip them of their value and quickly divorce ourselves from having any responsibility to them. After trying to eliminate single-use plastics from my home, I realized I had developed quite an entitled relationship with my rubbish. I consumed what I liked, threw the rest away, and washed my hands of it. The convenience of my local council picking it up and taking it away every week kind of worked for me. This changed when I noticed not only the pollution in our oceans and how that connects to the overall health of our planet, but also how our soils were becoming polluted too and losing the nutrients needed to grow food. Okay, another thing I want to read as I just scroll through this book that I can't wait to share with you all. It doesn't look as good on a screen as it does. You know, I actually think today is the 22nd, and I'm pretty sure that my book is being officially bound today, which is a pretty good day because it's got some good numerical energy going on today. We've got the 222222, we've got 22nd, 2022. Okay, this is a little highlight box. This is a lesson, lovely lesson that I learned when I did a sustainability course at UCLA. And one of the teachers gave this great, or not one of the teachers, there was one professor who gave this great kind of image that has really stayed with me, which is waste equals energy, which is so true. When we understand that there's actually powerful energy in waste, we realize that we can close that loop instead of just thinking it's this kind of linear do without, go away, because it never goes away. So waste equals energy, a little box. Waste is not the end of a cycle. By acknowledging this fact, we dismantle the concept that waste isn't our problem and are forced to take ownership over it. Now that these momentarily discarded resources are ours, we can find and design new homes for them. This process can create entire industries and jobs. By viewing everything as a resource and energy, we can see it as potential new source of life, and we truly close the loop. It's nice to share a bit of reading this to you. And one thing I'm gonna just end this nice, short, sharp video with is just also this idea that obviously I've spoken a lot about waste, and I speak a lot about waste because I think I want to shock people and viewers and readers to realize that that is not where we want our stuff to end up. We don't want to use this word waste, like it is not waste. Me throwing this away is not, oh, I'm throwing this waste and pencil away. I'm throwing this wood away that has come from a tree. Like, that is material. If we actually name what these things are, I think it's really important. We don't just throw things away. They are actually something. I'm not throwing a newspaper away. I'm throwing that paper and tree away, etc. And second, the amazing, amazing thing that we can do as an act of resistance by caring and mending and tending to our things. I'm going to do a whole episode on this. I've been saving up some different things of mine that need to be fixed, mended, sewn back together, and different things like that. And I think the most amazing thing that we can do to get the longest life out of our things and show the deepest respect that we possibly can is by mending and tending the items we have and giving value to those things. Not just treating everything as a resource. It's actually this energetic material that's been taken from the earth, farmed, or however it's come to be in our hands, and it is our responsibility to pay respect to that material. You know, whether it's a renewable or non-renewable, it's important that we look after it and get the longest life out of it so that we put value back into these seemingly everyday materials. Going back to how I sort of started, imagine if we treated all these kind of everyday things as we do with the powerful materials and high value materials like gold. So yeah, I'll leave you that. Go about your day and treat everything like gold, because it really is. Our materials are beautiful, beautiful things that give us the power to do all these things. I mean, there's thousands of materials in this computer. So just all these things we have to be grateful to and give energy back to. So thank you for humoring me on my love and joy for curiosity. As you can see, I'm bursting with interest in this topic, but I cannot wait for you to read Go Gently and see just a lot more detailed, broken down stuff that we've spoken about, from certification, material types, labels, and how to best kind of manage our things. So yeah, thank you for joining me, and my next video is going to be answering your questions. I've seen so many ones in your comments that I wanted to answer but just couldn't possibly get through them all. So please send me questions about my book, particularly, hopefully, and I will be choosing some of those questions from you all to answer in my video in 2 Sundays' time. So thank you for following on, and have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday.